Raider Nation, good morning, or should I just say morning. My name is Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and this is Overreaction Monday. I'm going to be talking about the top trending topics around the silver and black after a 41-24 just drubbing in Washington yesterday. I wore this shirt for a reason today, because I know that I'm a loud individual. I know Raider Nation is loud individuals, but I know together, when we are together, we are stronger together. And I got a few messages out there that I want Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and this entire Raiders organization to hear. And you know what? It's going to be around this. I want Brennan Carroll's ass to be fired. And I've even thought of a plan, because I know Pete's probably not going to fire his kid after 3 days or 3 weeks just because of how bad he's been, though he deserves to be fired. I also want JPJ to start at center. If you believe in those two statements there, hit that subscribe button, because I'm telling you this, we're going to be stronger together, and that's going to be my message the entire week, because I'm not watching that shit show again. Let's get into the very first topic here, and I want the Raiders to fire Brennan Carroll. This is for just win babies. I don't think it's an overreaction. Now, again, I've created a plan where I just don't want Brennan Carroll to be the offensive line coach. I just don't want him to be the run game coordinator. Put him as an assistant. Put him in the back, because if we're going to talk about Nepo, you're leaving him stay his job only because his last name is Carroll. If we're judging based on the product of work, you're making him an assistant, and he's counting his blessings that he's even allowed to coach on this team. But the first reason why you should move on from Brennan Carroll, this offensive line, guys, is trash. And trash, I almost feel bad for. I keep saying trash over and over again, but I think it's mean to trash. You know, like, to me, I have sat back and I've watched this team for 3 weeks. Quite frankly, this Raiders offensive line is so bad, it is historically bad. I mean, right now, the Raiders this past week against Washington, and I apologize, I still don't have much of a voice from screaming yesterday. 28 pressures allowed, 15 hurries, 5 unblocked pressures, and 5 sacks. Not only is he failing as an offensive line coach, he is failing as a run game coordinator. Right now, the Raiders are averaging 3.1 yards per carry. That is 30th in the NFL. I put that on Brennan Carroll. You're the one deciding what a lot of these structures are going to look like. Now, Chip Kelly deserves a lot of blame as well. The interior offensive line, I get it, it has not been good. But you're deciding when certain running backs are going in the game, and putting Zamir White in over Ashton Genty, or finally when Genty gets going, you end up pulling him, running the same runs over and over and over again. To me, our running game is such a disgrace, and it makes me want to pull my hair out, because I kind of figured it could have been the case when you drafted Genty at 6 and you decided to neglect your entire offensive line. But you want to talk about embarrassing, let's talk about historically embarrassing. This season, Geno Smith has been sacked 12 times. That is 30th in the NFL, so basically the third most in the league. That is a pace of 68 sacks this season. The most sacks ever allowed in the history of the Raiders, the history of the Oakland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas Raiders, is 67 sacks. And you got to go all the way back to 1967. So that means right now, this Raiders offensive line is on pace to be historically bad. And you know what's crazy? The run blocking is even worse than the pass blocking. So to me, I just don't understand how you can watch what this team has done over the first 3 games and go, I believe Brennan Carroll deserves more time, because I don't believe that he does deserve more time. I feel like we're right back in the Josh McDaniels scenario, where I knew in my heart of hearts McDaniels wasn't a leader of men, was never going to be a good head coach. I have seen Brennan Carroll in college. I've seen him in the NFL. Hell, Brennan Carroll's never had a top 40 offensive line in college football. So now he's going to be the Raiders offensive line coach? It's an absolute joke, man. Let's go to the next reason here. I don't think he knows his players. And my number one thing that I'm always afraid to say when I do this show is I really, truly do not know if this coaching staff knows its players well, because from what I saw yesterday, this is a staff that doesn't know its players well. And I don't think Brennan Carroll knows the offensive line that he has. So last season, right, JPJ, I think we'd all agree he's better at center. Jordan Meredith, think we would all agree here that he's better at left guard. What's frustrating is I will stand up here time and time again, and I will tell you that I believe Raider Nation, the Raiders fans, know this team better, or at least know it better than Brennan Carroll. Last year, the Raiders had a 4.42 yards per carry behind Jordan Meredith at left guard. The Raiders averaged 4.28 yards per carry with JPJ at center. Again, that's running behind him. In 2025, it's 2.17 with Meredith at center, and JPJ, when he did play right guard, was 3.75. What it seems like right now is, and I'm not saying the Raiders' offensive line was proven, and I'm not saying the Raiders' offensive line was set in stone after last year, but what it seems like is you got a kid who's got no business having the job that he does, and he only has the job because daddy decided to hire him, and instead of going with what you were doing last year when you saw improvement, when the offensive line got better over the last 8 to 9 games with Joe Philbin, you decide, oh, well, I want to be able to put my own stamp on things, and I want to be able to do things my way, and I'm just going to do this because I want people to know that I'm making a change. Well, if you were going to make the change, it better damn work. And when it's this much of a disaster, the only thing that I can possibly think of is Brennan Carroll doesn't know the players on his team. So is he not working with them? Are we just not around these guys? Because it's just very, very concerning to me that this has been going on the entire offseason. Does Brennan Carroll have something against Jackson Powers Johnson? Does this staff have something against JPJ? To even bring that up is just some high school bullshit drama. But what I'm seeing right now from Brennan Carroll and this Raiders coaching staff, it kind of looks like some high school BS drama, because right now it looks like we're playing favorites. And right now it looks like we're playing favorites over certain guys instead of putting the most talented guys out on the field. I don't know what the hell's going on with Brennan Carroll in this offensive line, but I have seen enough. Let's go to the next reason here. I don't think Chip Kelly and Brennan Carroll work well together. I saw multiple times yesterday in that booth when Chip Kelly, Joe Philbin were freaking out about the offensive line. And I don't know if it's we need to get Chip and Brennan together because Brennan's down there on the field. Chip Kelly's up there in the stands. To me, there's got to be better communication. That way Chip knows what plays to call. That way Brennan Carroll knows certain plays and players to get ready for. I just don't think that there is a clear communication. And I bring this up because I saw this stat. Shout out to my guy Tristan. The Raiders ran behind Alex Kappa B-Gap 11 times versus the Commanders. They recorded 13 yards. 0.8 yards per carry. Ashton Genty averaged 0.28 yards per carry on 7 attempts with 2 yards. Behind Dylan Parham, I was shocked that these numbers were like this. Behind Parham's B-Gap, they recorded 8 attempts for 40 yards. My point to that is this. If you're doing something that's not working, let's figure out a different way to do it. So right now, one of the things that we were saying yesterday on this stream was that the Raiders should do more outside zone plays. The Raiders should run to the outside a little bit more because the interior offensive line is absolute dog shit. The Raiders this season on 2 outside zone runs, 8 yards per carry, 2 carries, 19 yards. After 7.8 yards per carry in week 2, when they did it 7 for 55, they have ran outside zone on less than 20% of their rushes this season. Why? Because Brennan Carroll and Chip Kelly clearly are not communicating, and it is clear to me that these two aren't communicating. If they are communicating, I don't know what type of language they're using. Maybe they should convert to Braille. Maybe they should go to sign language, because if these two are talking, they're clearly not speaking the same language. Let's go to the next reason here of why Brennan Carroll needs to get fired. The player regression is disturbing. We're looking at a lot of this team right now, and one of the things I'll continue to throw out that's concerning to me is the Raiders drafted 11 players. 5 were active yesterday. 6 players. There's 2 guys that really aren't even on the team, and 4 guys were backups yesterday that were healthy and active. Tonka Hemingway, J.J. Pegues, Caleb Rogers, and Charles Grant, all healthy and active. So I'm concerned because the only way that Pete Carroll is going to work is if this team gets better and better and better and we start trending in the right direction. What's concerning to me is Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, JPJ, and DJ Glaze have all looked worse this season, and it's not by just a little bit. They have been significantly worse this year. Also, does anybody here trust Brennan Carroll to get the most out of Caleb Rogers and get the most out of Charles Grant and to help those 2 players develop into the picks that we need them to be? We drafted 2 offensive linemen this year in the 3rd round. And they've been healthy scratches. You're telling me the guys that we have out there on the offensive line give us a better chance to win right now, and that with the guys that have regressed as much as we have, we think that our dude is good enough to be able to get the most out of these 2 third-round picks? I don't know about you. I don't have any faith in that. So to me, it's not only a right now problem, it is also a down the road problem. Because when you have a coach that is making everybody else around him worse, that's got to be a red flag, man. So the final reason here of why I believe the Raiders should end up firing Brennan Carroll, it's because we have somebody on our team that is better. And I just think that a lot of the frustration yesterday from that offensive line was JPJ is the second best offensive line we have on the team, and yet you decided not to start him. So you're deciding to not put somebody that is better that would help this Raiders team win. That's the opposite of commitment to excellence. But last season, Joe Philbin did a good job taking over for James Craig. And last year, once Philbin took over, I'm not saying the offensive line was spectacular. We also played some pretty weak teams. Let's be honest with ourselves. But the offensive line was ranked 7th, in pass blocking and ranked 16th in run blocking. I think if the Raiders are ranked 7th in pass blocking and 16th in run blocking, we have 2 wins this season. Ashton Jeanty looks better. Geno Smith looks better. This entire offense looks a lot better. But here's going to be the question that I want to know from all of y'all, and this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. Should the Raiders fire Brennan Carroll? I want you to type F for fire, or if you're like Mitch, it's week 3, man. This is an overreaction. It's why I'm doing this show. It's Overreaction Monday. My answer is going to be coming up here after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to sit up here and say that, yes, I think it is time to fire Brennan Carroll, but I'm not saying to take him totally off the team. If Pete wasn't his dad, I would say fire him off the team, but I also understand that Pete's probably not going to fire his kid. What I would do is I would move Brennan Carroll to the offensive assistant role. And I would move Joe Philbin to the offensive line coach, a job that he did better last season, a job that he has been able to hold in his career, and he's been an offensive line coach. He's worked on multiple staffs. But to me, I understand that firing your kid isn't easy, Pete. I totally get it, right? I could imagine if my dad fired me, I would feel some type of way. But keeping him as the offensive line coach, keeping him as the run game coordinator is the complete opposite of commitment to excellence. I just don't want him to be the O-line coach. I just don't want him to be the run game coordinator. Fire him from those 2 jobs. Make him an assistant, because if you cared about your kid's development as a coach, you would quickly see that he's just not ready for it. And he's clearly not. He's not ready to be an NFL offensive line coach. So for the sake of the Raiders, for the sake of this football team, for the sake of all those players that you're going to stand up there and try to give your best foot forward and be the head coach of, it's time for you to be a head coach, and you got to put that dad stuff to the side, and that's not a fair thing to say, but your job is to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and your son is not doing a good enough job. It is time to fire him from his current role, put him down a little bit, because he's just got to learn, and he's got to get better. You got to make Joe Philbin the offensive line coach going forward, and I promise you this, if you believe that we are stronger together, everything Raiders related on Twitter, everything Raiders related on Instagram, everything Raiders related on Facebook, I am going to comment, fire Brennan Carroll, start JPJ, and it is in the testament to put him as an assistant and put Joe Philbin as an offensive line coach. If you see me putting that out there, I hope you retweet it. I hope you like it, because I know our message needs to get across. Let's go to the next one here. Is it time to start Jackson Powers Johnson at center? I'm going to give you my answer, and I can't wait to show you some of the stats that I got coming up here. But before I do, I got to show some love to our sponsor here, Prize Picks. And let's face it, man, that game yesterday, it was a hard game to watch. But if you're a little bit worried about the Raiders, luckily, when you get a Prize Picks lineup in, you're going to have something to root for. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. You know where it's good to be right? I feel like I was right in saying that this offensive line was not going to be good enough to draft a running back at number 6 overall. And because Brennan Carroll is a knucklehead, and because we can't have the stones to make the proper adjustments, I lost my Prize Picks lineup. Ashton Jeanty, I took the more on 3.5 rushing yards on that first attempt, and he didn't get it. Why? Because the interior offensive line stinks. I also want to look at the film because the defenders are crashing so hard. I don't know if we're tipping our hat when we're about to run. I also don't know if the teams are just going, well, if we just ruin the interior of the offensive line, they're not going to do anything. We just bull rush them every time. It's not going to make a difference. Mahomes, more. Jacoby, more. I had a chance to put $60 in my pocket yesterday. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But if you plan on watching Monday Night Football tonight, I encourage you to get a lineup in. I will have a lineup in as well, and you'll see it when I go live later on tonight, here on the Raiders Report. So download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Is it time to start JPJ at center? I don't know how many times I tweeted it yesterday. I don't know how many times I said it yesterday. But this one is, again, for just win, babies. Believe it, baby. I understand that Brennan Carroll wanted to be able to put his own stamp on this Raiders offensive line. The problem is that stamp that you got has turned into a tramp stamp, Brennan, and it's just not good anymore, and I don't want to have to look at it anymore. JPJ was cleared to play against the Commanders, okay? And I know some people are going, well, Mitch, he's coming off a short week. You're right, 6 days. He did not start against the Commanders. I absolutely hear you. And because of the concussion issues, maybe that's why they decided not to go with him. Pete Carroll did say that because it was a short week and they wanted to maintain continuity with Alex Kappa out there at right guard. I get that that was the plan going into the game. But after first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, at what point do you go, all right, well, now we got to make a change because clearly our plan wasn't working, right? Clearly the plan that we came up with wasn't working, but I also saw JPJ out there on special teams. And when I say special teams, I mean the field goal unit. If JPJ is healthy enough to go out on field goal units during those snaps, why is he not healthy enough to play as a starter? Because, to me, if you're going to hit me with the concussion part, first off, JPJ's he's got to get a guardian cap on because Jackson, I've been defending you a lot this week. I'm going to continue to defend you this week. But I think you also got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and go, I got to put one of those guardian caps on. I got to do everything in my power to make sure that I am healthy and available to my team because right now, maybe that's why they're not putting you in. Maybe they're not putting you in because they don't think that they can trust you long term because he used this word for a reason, Pete, yesterday. Continuity. And I'm just concerned that they're just worried about his health long term, which is why they're not doing it. If that's the reason, then we got to get him in a guardian cap. Pete, sit him down and say, hey, if you want to get your ass on the field, I need you in a guardian cap, and I need you to be able to do what is responsible to help this team win going forward because JPJ not being a starter, not playing our second-best offensive lineman, it makes absolutely positively zero sense. But let's talk about this continuity word here, Pete, because the Raiders found a little bit of continuity last year. And the moment James Craig left, Joe Philbin came in. He was speaking nothing but confidence to this offensive line. JPJ, they finally put him at center. Meredith is playing guard. Dylan Parham's playing right guard. And DJ Glaze is playing right tackle, and the Raiders are 7th in pass blocking, 16th in run blocking. So then, wouldn't the idea of continuity, wouldn't that be that you have a center in JPJ who introduced you to a star running back, said, hey, I'm the center. He wants to be the center. There are players on this team that want JPJ to be the center. So instead of doing continuity like you speak of, Pete, you and this staff have allowed the opposite of continuity. You moved Jordan Meredith. You moved JPJ. You moved Dylan Parham. And because you moved those three players to our interior offensive line, the interior offensive line has never looked worse. DJ Glaze looks much, much worse. There's a lot of communication. Maybe Glaze is a better communicator with Parham because he worked with him for an entire season. Maybe JPJ is strong enough to play center. My point is, if you're going to throw out the term continuity, I just wish that you would know this team a little bit better because, again, it's clear to me that this coaching staff, I just don't think knows the players all that well. And that just scares the hell out of me. And I don't really know how else to say it besides that because I do really honestly think this. I think Raider Nation knows this team better than its coaching staff. And that's concerning to me. So I want to know from all of y'all, what should the Raiders offensive line be week 4 against the Chicago Bears? A Bears team that looks like they got it clicking on offense. A Bears team that just whooped the Dallas Cowboys, and they're 1-2. They're going to want to try to get back in that win column. I'll tell you this. You're going to get hit with another YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down. Give me your answer. My answer coming up here in 1 second. This is the offensive line that I would roll with. And would be the offensive line that I would have rolled with from day one. Anybody that watches the show, anybody that is a real one, anybody that is subscribed to this channel, the Raiders at some point, I hope, decide to go with this line. And when they do, just remember, we were asking for it back in May. Now, before we get into the final Overreaction Monday topic here on the Raiders Report presented by Prize Picks, I want to give a huge shout out to my guy, Kane Michael B, for being a legend. Week 3, MVP of the show, number 1 in XP, was an absolute legend trying to keep the good vibes rolling. And I'll say this, Raider Nation is undefeated to me. I love this fan base to the end of the world and back. I am just as frustrated as you. But to me, if we want change, we got to unite together. We are stronger together. And I hope that that message is very clear this whole week from every show that I do. And I need y'all's help. I need y'all to click the share button. I need y'all to hit me up on IG and Twitter. Give me a follow. Share the information that I'm putting out there. Now, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, don't share it, right? Like, I'm not saying that. But if you agree with what I'm saying, let's get it out there. If there's things that you're saying that I agree with, I was quote tweeting guys yesterday. I was sharing stuff. We are louder together, and the only way that we are going to get change, the only way that our voice is going to be here, is if we unite together. The nation is stronger together. Let's go to the final one here, and it's this. I saw a lot, the season is over, and I know this was a past 2 very frustrating games where I don't think the Raiders have looked good really at all this season. I think that when you rank their games, it's Patriots game is a C, the Chargers game is a D, the Commanders game is an F. Let's see how this team responds, but do I think the season's over? No, I do not. I think that this is an overreaction. The AFC West, to me, is still wide open. You got the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chiefs all sitting there at 1-2. Sure, the Chargers are 3-0, but at the same time, if there's a team that I'd rather have a home field advantage, I'd rather be the team that doesn't have a home field advantage. You know what I mean? It's probably the Chargers. But on top of that, I still believe in this team, and I believe this season isn't over. First off, because I believe in Pete Carroll, and I do believe in John Spytek. I believe in this regime. I believe in the way that these two guys coach. I do think right now that maybe they thought their shit didn't stink. Maybe they had too big of an ego. Maybe they thought that, I'm going to be able to fix this offensive line by going out and adding only Alex Kappa and drafting 2 developmental pieces on the offensive line. Because right now, this team is losing because of the offensive line. Yes, the defense played bad yesterday. No doubt about it. But the defense is also on the field a lot. And I know the time of possession is not going to show you that. But we got a lot of garbage time of possession, garbage time points, garbage time yards at the end of that game. So from a defense, there's some frustration there. The defense was bad. Special teams was dog shit yesterday as well. But to me, I do think that we have good enough pieces on the offensive side of the football where that's got to get it clicking a little bit. And if we fix the O-line, we're going to fix a lot of our offensive issues. Let's go to the next reason here. I do think that the Chargers are a good football team. I think the Chargers are a playoff caliber team. I think the Commanders are a playoff caliber team. And I'll admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong thinking that Washington was being carried by Jaden Daniels. Now, obviously, Jaden is a hell of a quarterback, no doubt about it. But Cliff Kingsbury was in his bag yesterday. Marcus Mariota looked really flipping good. Now, you look good when you don't get any pressure, but Washington from top to bottom yesterday looked like a team motivated to show everybody that we're a tough mother effing football team. And they're taking on that personification of Dan Quinn. And that was a tough game to watch, no doubt about it. But I look at the Patriots and I go, that's a team that we should beat. And I look at the Chargers and the Commanders and I sit back here and I go, honestly, those two teams are better than us. So, yes, we are 1-2, but what we do next week against Chicago and what we do week 5, 0-3 Tennessee Titans, I think that's really going to dictate what we are. If we can't win these next 2 games, then we're just not good enough to make it to the playoffs. If we win 1 out of those next 2, we're still not good enough to make it to the playoffs. But there is a lot of season to go. Pete Carroll has started 1-2 in his career only 2 other times. First time he did it with Seattle, they finished 7-9. The other time it happened, 2003, when Pete Carroll had Geno Smith, and they ended up finished that year 9-8. Again, no playoffs, But to say the season is over, I don't think it's fair. And the final reason is I believe Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Because Geno is a good QB, and once this offensive line just gets their shit together, it's going to help out the running game. It's going to help out the receivers get open. Because right now receivers are struggling getting open because why would you, you're only bringing 4. And that's what they're doing. They're bringing 4. They're keeping 7 back because they know their front 4 is good enough to beat our 5, sometimes 6. But I have confidence in Geno. And yes, some of these stats are a little bit empty. Trey Tucker's stats are a little bit empty. But Geno Smith is a good quarterback. And you can see that he is a good quarterback that can do a lot of different things. And he's doing all this with a horrible offensive line. Historically, maybe the worst Raiders offensive line of all time. It's that bad. Truly it is. A running game that is abysmal right now, and they're just having to carry a lot on their shoulders. Yes, the team defense, yes, special teams got to get cleaned up, no doubt about it. But I really do not think that the season is over, and we just got to be able to make a statement because this game against the Commanders is concerning for Raider fans because Sunday's game felt like it was a big statement game. The problem was it was the statement that was not a good one. Appreciate each and every one of y'all tuning in. I will be live here in just a little bit. I'm going to be going live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So 2 hours from now, I will be live here on the Raiders Report. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. And if you don't know my entire live schedule for this entire week, Monday Night Football tonight is going to be a hell of a football game. Tomorrow I'm going to be live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Thursday Night Football, 7 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Raiders Report.